And we are back, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, earlier in the day we did ups and downs for NXT TakeOver 30, and I completely understand if they're like, but Simon, I don't care about NXT. I'm just here for AEW, so now I've literally wasted my breath. This is very, very sad, because obviously, we only have so many breaths in our lives before we very sadly pass away, and I didn't mean to bring down the tone as much as I did. Let's raise it back up, just gently, nicely, easily, because I know, I just shouldn't have done it, really. But AEW Dynamite ups and downs crazy on a Sunday because AEW Dynamite got pushed to Saturday. I mean, what kind of a funky world are we living in? It's called 2020. In 2020, you can never say never because it's just like a raffle. And things come out and things happen. But I tell you, the main event of this show, or the main event angle, was flipping brilliant. What's that? You're right, Finger of Power. Let's up those downs. I just love the way that AEW starts. It's like, just looks at you and go, do you want a match? You're like, yes, I would like a match. So a match just starts in the ring. Although I will say this week, I was a little bit confused because it was FTR versus Private Party and Tully Blanchard was just in FTR's corner. I was like, wait a minute, did I miss something? Did I fall asleep? It does happen from time to time. When did they become best friends? But no, apparently this is why 7 days ago Cash and Dax did do what they did do when they were a couple of assholes. So I guess it's okay. And the reason for that is because later on we got a backstage skit between them all where FTR was saying, look, last week we understood everything Tully said. He was like, to be the best you need the gold, so now we've got him on board so that we get the gold. They've also started calling themselves Fear the Revelation, which is such a nod to the Four Horsemen tease, they may as well have had a horse walk up to the screen and go, rah, 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 the Four Horsemen. Apparently the horses I know have something seriously wrong with them. I just thought at first we could have made it more of a thing, but again, during this backstage skit, they even continued to have everything with Hangman Adam Page, because the cowboy blasted in here, and he was like, what the hell are you guys up to? I don't agree with this, I don't agree with that, I think you're a couple of butt munches, but FTR managed to calm him down and maybe, just maybe, have him understand their way of thinking. Now, this was kind of left up in the air, and it was kind of left ambiguous, so you made up your mind, but there's even more teasing later on. I'm gonna have to go lay down. The extra good news is that the match we started talking about 72 years ago, which was FTR versus Private Party, was very good. When I say it was good news, obviously it's good news for me. I don't know what you thought, but I am giving it up. Obviously, Harwood and Wheeler's major plan here was to ground Quen and Cassidy, and that's what they did. They would go for their high-flying arsenal, but FTR are too smart, they're all old school, so they kept them towards the mat. And look, loads of people keep going, Private Party so green, Private Party so green. And they are, but I think they get better each and every week. And I really thought this worked quite nicely. Tully, who was ringside, was also the difference maker as well, because when Cassidy had finally got the hot tag and started to run wild, which just happens in wrestling, it's like some magic power you get when you are in a tag team, he went to do a dive on Harwood, but Blanchard pulled him out the way. What an absolute... Cassidy was dead. Well, it wasn't dead, but it was bad. And back in the ring, FTR was able to hit the Good Night Express on Quen, which is still the nicest name of a finisher ever. It just makes me think of clouds and sleeps. Anyway, he went down. 1, 2, 3. FTR are still your number one contenders for the tag team titles. I'm also happy that FTR are proper heels now because they are such doofuses on the internet and social media, intentionally so, that you just want to see someone punch them in the face. Now, hopefully soon somebody will punch them in the face, although I do think they'll be tag champions before that, and then we'll finally get to the Young Bucks feud, and Matt and Nick Jackson punch them in the face. Then, my word, the joy in my heart, because John Moxie was cutting another promo about MJF, and he was basically acting like Maxwell's teacher here, saying, look, you have all the potential in the world, you little pissant, but unless you start focusing, you are going to throw it all away, and you'll be nothing down the line. And all of this was great. Mox is awesome. He completely understands his character. But then when we went to MJF's retort, well, it may have been the best thing I've ever dared seen. That's called hyperbole, but it's also called it up. Because when we did cut to him, not only was he on crutches and wearing a neck brace, but he told us that John Moxley's move, known as the Paradigm Shift, is so dangerous and so brutal that it had left him in this kind of condition. And if he's in this kind of condition, how the hell is he gonna play with his future children? I love this so much. Good bad guys, which kind of sounds like a paradox, but whatever. Good bad guys should always be willing to make themselves look like morons, and MJF does it each and every single week, and this may have been the best one of the bunch. So he's just a cowardly, scared, weak little boy, and he was in so much pain, his lawyer then jumped in and said, Maxwell, I'll do the talking for you. And where the hell did we find this guy? Because he absolutely nailed it. He went on this verbal tirade about how the paradigm shift should be banned from AEW, and that if John Moxie doesn't sign this brand new contract saying that the move cannot be used at All Out when he does take on MJF, then his lawyer firm will sue him right up his ass. I mean, this was actually genuinely brilliant. And it's not like it's anything new, and in fact it's proper old school pro wrestling, and if you said this felt a little bit like WWE, I wouldn't argue with it, but execution is everything, and the execution here was absolutely spot on. I'm going to presume that John Moxley does indeed sign that bit of paper because it's crazy and he doesn't care, and then you've got a new bit of intrigue to this main event at All Out. How's he going to win without the paradigm shift double DDT smasher? So if you hadn't worked it out, I was a huge fan of this, especially the small touches, like that lady from last week that got scolded by MJF for not smiling, so stood in the background the entire time, grinning, but just with this fear in her eyes. Those little things, I tell you, those little things are wonderful. When people kiss their hand, I'm going to go, Mwah. I did it now anyway. That's always so weird. What are we doing? Mwah. Nonsense. We went straight into a multi-person tag team match, and as you already know, AEW just goes mad with these. It's just an expectation now if you tune into Dynamite. But it was Dustin Rhodes, QT Marshall, and the Jurassic Express taking on the Butcher and the Blade, Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix. And yeah, I think I just made my feelings clear. It was just a roller coaster of insanity. I mean, where do I even start? It was like hell on earth. If hell is moves, and the earth is earth. But of course the earth is earth because we're on earth. Don't even worry about it. But I mean, at one point, Dustin Rhodes kind of got backflipped and he reversed that into a Canadian destroyer and he hit Phoenix with it so hard, I thought Phoenix's head was going to explode. I can't even believe that's a real thing. I watched it 5 times and every time I was like, nope, 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 nope. It's like a Rubik's Cube, I just can't figure it out. The rest of this was just batshit nuts as well, with some of the moves making me feel like I was going to throw up because I couldn't imagine anyone trying to pull them off. Phoenix especially is out of his mind. I don't think Phoenix has ever been told that death is a real thing in life. I think he thinks we all just live forever, so when he is in a wrestling ring, he's like, who cares, I'll do whatever I want. However, with that said, after quite the epic journey, I kind of felt the finish was a little bit of a letdown. When something's a letdown, it gets a down. I just didn't really get it. I mean, the Blade and Pentagon looked like they were going to do that double pile driver thing while the Blade was on the top rope. Then they kind of fell out because I think they each wanted to do their own move. Then they started shouting at each other. So Pentagon pushed the Blade, and because of that, Jungle Boy was able to use the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, and he got the 1, 2, 3. Because of that, the good guys kind of fluked it, and the bad guys were still arguing. It just left me cold. I think it was just a bit of a shame given everything that we'd then seen, but all of a sudden we got an angle that reactivated my happy glands, which meant I was happy again, and it's gonna get an up. In yet another, well, I didn't call that moment in 2020, Eddie Kingston was back on Dynamite, and he was looking at all these guys saying, look, you should be champion, you should be champion, and I should be champion, and Artie Jones should be champion. But unless you start getting it together and don't keep arguing, nobody is going to be a champion because you just proved it to yourself. You're bickering like kids, and that's why you got defeated. I'm not really sure how 4 people, and 5 with Eddie, can be tag team champions. But that's not for me to figure out. But Kingston was so good here because every single word he says is so damn believable. And I think we're getting a brand new group, which I'm kind of intrigued by. All of this was really nice by the end of it. And I'm genuinely fascinated to see what happens next. I mean, they hugged at the end. Probably going to annoy the best friend. Then Britt Baker, man. Britt flipping Baker. Can we send her a cake or something? My brain has said that because her last name is Baker. Stupid brain, come up with something different. Either way, this skit up. Because she was in a gym here with Reba, and when the camera cut out, you also saw that off in the corner, Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian were making out. And as soon as Britt realized this, those two jumped away from each other, and Kip Sabian went straight into Anchorman mode and was doing biceps goes going like 4001, 4002, but he actually did that very well, and it made me chuckle. And Britt Baker then went on a tirade saying, look, don't kiss each other, don't forget I'm a dentist, and if you swap saliva like that, you're probably gonna hurt your gums. And look, she is a dentist, maybe it's true. She does have a situation she needs to figure out though, because of course she has this match with Big Swole. So said to them, look, I will give you free dental care for a year so you can keep on kissing as much as you want. as long as you join me and make it a handicap match. And then pointed at Reba and was like, and she'll give you free makeup, which Reba was not happy about, but I tell you who was, Penelope Ford, and she agreed. The whole time Sabian was just desperate to start making out again, which once again made me chuckle because he came across like such a goon. And all of these 4 guys deserve some kind of prize. They pulled this off wonderfully. It was very entertaining. And then in 65 million years, meaning I would have been hanging out with Luchasaurus back in the day, even in all of that time, I would have never have predicted about what we were going to see. Because AEW had teased all week long that finally Orange Cassidy was going to give a big interview and we were going to find out how he felt after he defeated Chris Jericho last week. But then that didn't happen because Le Champion interrupted, and you will never guess the words that came out of his mouth. And are you ready for this? Make sure you're sitting down. Because Jericho said given that they are 1 victory each, meaning they need to have a rubber match, they should do this and get it sorted at an upcoming show. And he said, we can't just do another singles match because we've proven we're kind of even there. So I started to think, oh, maybe they're going to do some kind of stipulation. Maybe a cage match, a Falls Count Anywhere match, a street fight, maybe some kind of backlot brawl or some kind of nonsense we've seen in the past. But no, the former Y2J has a completely different idea, and he wants to do a Mimosa Mayhem match. What the hell is a Mimosa Mayhem match? Well, I'll tell you, because you can still win by pinfall or submission, but at ringside, there is going to be 500 bottles of La Bubbly mixed with 80 gallons of orange juice, and if you can't get the pin, and you can't get the submission, you can grab your opponent and you can throw them into this bizarre concoction. And I will tell you this, if this had come out of anybody else's mouth, I would have thought they were crazy, but somehow Chris Jericho is able to pull it off. Also, can you imagine this in any other type of sport? Imagine the NBA, like, do you want to do the playoffs? And some other guy goes, nah, man, let's just throw each other into liquid. And they all look around at each other and go, yeah. The Le Champion was so proud of this concept, though, I couldn't help but buy into it. I mean, it's so crazy and it's so out there, but by the look on his face, you would have thought that Chris Jericho had just solved the problem of world hunger. It also likely means that Cassidy can beat Chris again without actually having to pin him or submit him, because again, he can grab him, just throw him into a bunch of orange juice mixed with champagne. And I actually think that's quite clever on AEW's behalf. And again, it all comes down to Jericho. Jericho says things with so much authority, you just go, yeah, all right, I guess that's normal. Let's get it up. The Inner Circle attacked afterwards and they left the best friends who had come out with Orange Cassidy laying. They also grabbed Cassidy and held him upside down and poured champagne on his face. And I don't know why this looks so brutal, but it really, really did. I felt sorry for the fruit. I think AEW then realized, oh my gosh, we haven't had like a crazy matchup for around 4 seconds, so they sent another Dark Order to take on Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Just gonna tell you the truth, it was brilliant. Nick Jackson especially is just nonsense. I mean, in the ring, out the ring, on the ropes, in the air, he doesn't miss anything and he soars around like a bird. And of course, Matt Jackson and Kenny Omega are excellent too. I think Kenny Omega is probably the best wrestler in the world. But on this night, it was the Nick Show, which sounds like something that should be on Nickelodeon. What a stupid thing to say. Obviously, they won after Kenny Omega hit the One-Winged Angel on Alan Angels, who I believe is called 5 in the Dark Order. But it was everything that happened after this that made me all excited, because Kenny has just gone nuts. Because he was so mad at Alan Angels for some reason. I don't know why, you tell me, he's gone loopy in the head now. He was going to powerbomb him on a chair. But Matt and Nick Jackson saw this and they took the chair away and they were like, what are you doing, Kenny? What is wrong with you? Why are you gone bonkers? He kind of did calm down after a while, but look at all the little threads that are going on here. Hangman Page is doing his thing, FTR are doing their thing, Kenny Omega's doing his thing, and so in the Young Bucks. Something is brewing here, people. And right now you can probably give me 5,422 ways it may go, and every one is a possibility. That is good storytelling. All the FDR stuff we talked about at the start of Ups and Downs happened here. In case you're a little bit weird and you like to document as and when segments happened, well, now I've told you. And then kind of strangely, we got a Darby Allin squash match. Whoever thought we'd get a Darby Allin squash match? I mean, I guess it wasn't, because the dude he was fighting, Will Hobbs, got some licks in. Will Hobbs quite a big man, so, you know, he did put some beating down on Darby Allin. But ultimately, he hit the coffin drop, he got the 1, 2, 3, and it was pretty simple for him. Then it all made sense, because of course it was for an angle. What a stupid bald asshole. Because as soon as this was done, Taz stood up from his commentary position, and he called Darby Allin a schmuck. I laughed so hard, because schmuck is the most underused insult in the world. I was sat there with my fingers crossed going, call him a schmeral, call him a Cheryl. but unfortunately didn't. So next week, Taz, please call him a schmeral. He was telling us though that somehow he's got his own Derby to join his clan of Ricky Starks and Brian Cage, and I sat there going, well, who the hell's gonna come out? Because we got some entrance music, and it was like, oh, it sounds like Darby Allin's entrance music. Then it turned out it was just a stupid ruse, and it was Ricky Starks dressed up like Darby Allin. The face paint, holding a skateboard, you know the deal. He took the mick out of him before Brian Cage popped up from nowhere and kicked the crap out of Darby Allin. And I tell you this, fair play to Ricky Starks. When they were laying this beating down, he was like throwing out a load of smack talk, and he sounded super legit. Guy's got something. They also smacked Darby with the skateboard to end all of this, and now I think Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and Allin Angels from the Dark Order should get together and form the group. Well, it didn't go very well for us tonight, did it? Because all of them really did have bad evenings. I feel for them. I suppose all of this will lead to Allin getting some help from somebody, but I, for the life of me, can't figure out who it could be. So I'll say I'll do it. All right. Matt Hardy then murdered Sammy Guevara. Now, I think some of this may have actually happened during the commercial on TNT, and I don't know because I watch it on Fight TV, but for anybody saying that who was annoyed, yes, I could see why that would have wound you up. But in terms of the angle, it was nice and simple, and it was nice and effective, because Sammy was out doing his card thing, insulting Matt Hardy. So Matt Hardy's like, all right, well, I can take care of you. And he brutalized him with a chair, and when he was done, he picked him up, and he threw him off the stage, through a table. Hardy was also going to do what Sammy Guevara done to him a couple of weeks ago and chuck the chair into his head until officials brought it up. But if you wanted a more serious and a more deranged Matt Hardy, well, you got it, and I'm massively fascinated to see what kind of match they have. I presume it's going to be at All Out. If Sammy Guevara wins, that's quite a big victory. Sit me on my seat of intrigue, and I shall ponder. Then Thunder Rose was cutting a promo. What? I mean, with AEW, actually genuinely have no idea what is going to happen minute to minute. And if you don't know about her, she is the NWA Women's Champion, and she's actually pretty good. And here she was like, all right, Sheila, you've been running your mouth saying somebody challenge me, somebody challenge me. Well, I'm somebody, and I have a challenge. I'll see you at All Out. I tell you right now, that will be a good match. I do have to say, as a little side note, the NWA Women's title that she was holding did look a little bit like she'd bought it from Toys R Us, but that still brought me joy. So everything is okay. It was all leading up to the finals of the women's tag team tournament that you may have been watching on Monday nights on YouTube, which was Ivelisse and Diamante taking on the team of Brandy and Ali. Now look, was this the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life? No, it is not. But we can't stand him go, well, we want AEW to do more with their women's division. And they do more with their women's division, we go, well, no, I didn't like that very much. Sometimes you just have to accept what you're giving, and I'm accepting it. Because yes, they were focusing on their women's division, they also now have a tag team division, and Veda Scott, who was on commentary, should somehow be the commentator for anything they do with the women. She is pretty good. More importantly than that though, Ivelisse and Diamante won, which was a surprise because everybody thought Brandy and Ali would win for obvious reasons, and they tied all the stories that they've been teasing in from the last few weeks. Sometimes that's all I need in my professional wrestling. Because QT Marshall jumped on the apron because he was so worried about his beau getting beaten up, and while that helped Brandy initially, it did not help her in the long run because she then got tossed out and smashed right into QT, and it allowed Ivelisse to kick Ali right in the head, got the 1, 2, 3, and yes, her and Diamante won the championships. There was no championships, but they won the tournament. The pair got a trophy and some flowers afterwards that was presented by Medusa, and the best thing about all of that is their entrance music is quite creepy, right? It's this like spooky piano, and that was playing as the background as they tried to be all happy and celebrated, and I sat there going, oh, it's making me feel a little bit uncomfortable. So I'm gonna take all of it, and I think it worked as best as it could, and I'm giving it an up. Now let's just hope we, again, move on from here. Build, depth, more wrestlers, characters, story, happiness. It's a good equation. And then, flubbing hell, what the shib? How the bonk? I mean, Cody was out here to take on Brodie Lee for his TNT championship. And you know Cody, he's been flying his flag, he's been walking his walk, he's been talking his talk, he's been having match after match after match after match. Speechless. Who saw this coming? What the hell? Where are we? Are we on Planet Zog? Because he lost here, wait for it, in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I actually died. And some local medical facility professionals had to come in and revive me. And then I died again. Because when I remember this information, I couldn't handle it. So yes, right now, I am communicating to you as a ghost. Simon Miller the Ghost. I mean, this was pure squash. They brawled to the outside early on. Even then, Brodie was throwing Cody into the barricades. And when they were back in the ring, he Brock Lesnar'd him and started suplexing him like he was mud. Nobody suplexes mud. But then he gave him the discus lariat that smacked Cody so hard he did like a tilt-a-whirl and then pinned him for the 1-2-3 and to become the champion. 3 minutes! You would not believe the noise that came out of my mouth when this happened too. It was like a pigeon giving birth. Just this high-pitched squealing noise. The whole Dark Order then came out to celebrate as Brodie cut a promo, and he's so whacked out by all of this, he now thinks he has all the power, like he's He-Man or something. And in the background to this utter scene, Cody Rhodes, shouldn't call him that, Cody was being stretchered out and given oxygen. But these madmen didn't give two hoots about that, because even though Arn Anderson tried to keep him away with a giant stick, not only did they wreck Arn Anderson of all people, but they pushed Cody off the stretcher, kicked his ass for a while, then went and beat up Dustin Rhodes, then went and beat up QT Marshall, just took out all of the Nightmare family, and even got the old TNT title in a bag and poured the remains on Cody's lifeless corpse. Then of course Brandy was out and she was covering her husband like, please no, leave him alone. So do you know what they did? They set Anna Jay on her and she choked Brandy out. Flip my life. The Dark Order then posed and felt far more intimidating than they ever had done, and I'm just gonna tell it to you straight. This was a phenomenal angle and turned Brodie Lee into some kind of main event badass who I will have nightmares about. And when you're able to do that, you don't just get an up. Where is it? Hang on, let me find it. There it is. It's a flipping golden up. I don't even care about what happened on the rest of Dynamite. That ending was so good and left me so perplexed. Well, it's what a good TV show should do. Now I absolutely want to see what's going to happen next week. And also the TNT Championship may actually feel more important than the world title. That's not a bad thing because it will change around after a while. That's right, is getting it up. Now don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know what you thought about last night's episode of AEW Dynamite on a Saturday. So weird, so strange. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Head over to whatculture.com, read yourself some articles, a lot of them about this. Follow What Culture on Twitter, What Culture WWE, and watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon from What Culture. Thank you for joining me. I now need to sleep. There's a lot of wrestling, but of course, in 24 hours time, we'll up those downs for SummerSlam. Who said there's too much wrestling on TV? Not